Here's the scenario. You've got the budget, you've got the perfect implementation partner, and now your ServiceNow instance is ready to be unleashed to your entire team, but not so fast. Your team has other ideas. They are super fine using the Excel spreadsheets and the manual processes that they've been using forever. But you know that those manual processes leave you vulnerable to risk and in the long run are going to cost you more time and money. But what to do? Well, I have the answer for you. I am about to introduce to you one of my favorite people in the ServiceNow ecosystem and one of my mentors. So without further ado, let's welcome Alex Darby to the stream. What it do, Alex?
Thank you, thank you. Thanks for having me, Collie. It's great to be here, and hopefully can give some insight into today's topic, which will be all about training, which is nice.
That's right, because you are the Senior Vice President of Training at GlideFast Consulting, and your team does some really interesting work. So talk to me a little bit about what we're talking about today.
So today we're going to talk about ServiceNow training, and it's what I do all the time. I've been doing it for the past, oh Lord, 10 years. And some commonly missed training opportunities, some commonly missed personas that need training, which means if you're missing out on these training opportunities, you're missing out on getting your full return on your investment in ServiceNow, really.
Ain't that right? So talk to me, give me a high level view of the type of work, and you kind of hinted at this, the type of work that you and your team do.
Well, what our whole purpose is to really drive adoption of ServiceNow for our customers to make sure they're getting full value from their ServiceNow and GlideFast investment. Not only the licenses from ServiceNow, but the investment in GlideFast when you're implementing and configuring these ServiceNow instances. We really focus on 6 personas in ServiceNow, and we train these folks in a variety of different ways based on your preferences and your GlideFast implementation or not. We can also do things that are not implemented by GlideFast.
You said that you can do trainings that are not implemented by GlideFast. So if a customer, say company A, has a ServiceNow implementation, but they went with partner X, they can still come to your team for enablement training?
Yeah, absolutely. We can walk through, basically open up an instance, take a look at what's been designed, and let you know the way that we may handle it with all of our experience. Combine that with your organizational knowledge and do training on just about anything from ServiceNow, whether that's straight up out of the box or done by a different partner, or of course, we prefer the GlideFast implementations.
Sure. Okay, so carry on. You were going to tell me about the 6 personas. I'm listening.
Yeah, so most of the time we handle it with custom training. We build out training for what is needed because everybody has a different instance at the end of the day. But we also recommend the pre-built training from ServiceNow. Think Now Learning or the community, or pre-built from GlideFast on our YouTube channel, which is incredibly popular way to learn, right? Short to the point. Although we do have the 6 general personas, and we'll get into all of them today, we do training for the following 2 are really the primary groups that need training at go live, and they're the 2 main pieces of ServiceNow, right? The requesters and the fulfillers, as they've been called in the past, or as we like to call them in others, you have your end users and your process users.
Got it.
So the end users are they request stuff, right? They're the ones who need. They're called requesters. They could be employees, clients, customers. They usually submit their needs or what they want through a service portal or the new employee service center. But they may also call, they may email, they may chat, they may do what I call a drive-by, which is walk by your desk and say, "Hey, I need this. Can you do this?" They may create an incident because something's broken. They may request a new laptop or create a case for support, among any other millions of ways to interact with ServiceNow.
Sure.
Um, we usually train these folks with just a 5-minute video if needed, right? If you do a GlideFast implementation, the service portal, right? We have a service portal team, is usually designed for an online shopping experience, right? So you might not even need training if it's intuitive enough. But we'll put together something that's quick and easy just to release as part of your sort of organizational change management package, just to give them the idea that this is where you go, this is where you log in, this is how you search, here are some categories, and then probably give them a shot at knowledge articles, but usually pretty quick and to the point.
What I like about what you said is that that your team creates these short videos. You mentioned like 5-minute videos because I can imagine that when a user is a requester or fulfiller, as you say, when a requester or fulfiller is in need of information, though 30 minutes does not seem to be that long, but when you want to get that information right away, just a video that's just a couple, 2, 3 minutes long can really save time and kind of minimize frustration. Am I understanding that correctly? Is that how your customers kind of view that?
Absolutely. Just basically, where do I go to find what I need? And they don't want to spend anywhere near 30 minutes with that, especially with the YouTube type of style of learning that we have now. You can fix your kitchen sink in 2 to 3 minutes. So you
Right.
should be able to, navigate a service portal or employee service center in that same amount of time. And also that, if you see something only takes 5 minutes to learn, that's a lot less of an impact than seeing something that's going to take 30 minutes or 2 hours, right? It just helps with the change of everything to make it shorter.
Absolutely. So talk to me about the usual trainings.
No problem. So our usual trainings are what ServiceNow calls process user, what we call process users. This is the bulk of who we train. They get the end users what they need. They fulfill requests, as sometimes called fulfillers. They may resolve incidents, create projects, work project tasks, or perform audits, or anything else within ServiceNow. They're the ServiceNow that's working, right? That's where the commercial comes from. That's where these folks are. Your service desk is process users. These are also the folks that consume the main licenses of ServiceNow. This is literally what you're paying for in ServiceNow. The tough part is figuring out who these people are for different specific industries, and that's where I think the GlideFast advantage really comes into play. We have people that know these industries, that have worked in these industries. We identify with our clients because we've been there, right? We've done these other jobs. We've all come together at GlideFast to help people become this new job in ServiceNow. We've been customer service agents on the phone opening cases. We've been support technicians assigned to incidents. We've been security dealing with a DOS attack. So now we know how to teach these same folks the best way to use ServiceNow because of that experience, as well as configure ServiceNow, or personalize, as the mayor likes to say, to meet the needs of any organization, from accounts payable and healthcare, or operations and telecom, or to HR and banking. We want these people to get full value from ServiceNow, as they are essentially the reason for ServiceNow.
I appreciate what you said about the folks on your team and throughout GlideFast generally have been on the customer side, so they are well aware and have felt the pain of being in need of whatever the situation is, whether it's needing to have that spot on training or being an architect at a customer, but just kind of knowing the pain points of being on that side of the house and understanding like how to address that. And I see your team being pivotal and being able to make adoption a little bit more appealing. You said something about organizational change management a bit ago. Would you mind kind of bridging the gap between training enablement and organizational change management, or change enablement? I think that might be the new name.
Yeah, depending on what the latest term is for it. But basically, training enablement is just a piece of organizational change management, right? And organizational change management is meant to address the sort of natural human opposition to change, right? You want to have an introduction. This is going to happen, right? And here's how you're going to be prepared. Here are the dates that it's going to happen. Here's some teasers about the functionality. Here is how the organization is going to absorb this. And then here's the training, right? This is how you're going to do this. And we usually try to do that just in time, like right at the time that change is happening, so that people take the training and then do their job, right? Or take their training, then request the stuff that they need to, so that it's they don't forget about it, right? At that same time, and then follow up. What surveys, how did we do, or how did the training go, right? So really, the only difference is that training is just a piece of organizational change management as a whole.
What are some of the biggest obstacles that companies face after completing a successful ServiceNow engagement?
Well, one of the biggest obstacles is what I was just mentioning, that natural human opposition to change. You got people that have been working at a job for 6 days, 6 years, 20 years. They generally have a way they're going about doing that job. And when that changes, that's really tough to handle. There's always
Yeah.
a question: why are we changing? What is it changing? And then at the end of the day, everybody wants to know what's in it for me, what's going to improve about my life with this change. And the fear is nothing, right? So we really,
Mm.
at GlideFast, what we aim to do is let them specifically know what's in it for them. The people that are using ServiceNow on a day-to-day basis, they need to have some excitement going into this change. I always stress ServiceNow makes things more efficient, makes it easier to do your job, and therefore, like at the end of the day, it allows you to spend more time with family and friends because you're able to do that same job just quicker and more efficiently.
You know, I think about in a former life, I was in education, and a big role of our managers was having to deal with call outs. Like if you're calling out sick, so they spend a lot of
Right.
time trying to feel like, okay, Miss Alexander is out today. Okay, Mr. Darby, are you able to fill in for Miss Alexander? Hey, Miss Smith, are you able to fill in for Miss? They spend a lot of time doing all of that. So I imagine, based on what you're telling me, is that when you have a process in place, you're able to get to the work that you're really there to do, is to manage people, to help their growth and the development of the organization, instead of having to do these repetitive, mundane tasks. Am I hitting the nail on the head a bit here?
Absolutely. And then also just not having to be aware of the full process that needs to happen, right?
Yeah.
You do your part, you're done, and then you have ServiceNow move on to the next part with a subsequent task, an email being sent to somebody, or what have you. So you don't have to know that, hey, I need to email Kali who handles this from procurement. It just goes to the procurement team. You do your part, you move on to the next piece, right? And all of that time that you save, not have, by not having to do the next piece of the job, is time that you get back and again make your day shorter and spend more time with those loved ones.
Sure. Talk to me a little bit more about just in time training. You mentioned that a bit ago. Talk to me why just in time training is a better way to go than, say, let's just front load all this training up, at the end or at the beginning.
Yeah, and that's one of the key things is, retention basically. You want people to take the training and then within a week or with the shortest amount of time that you can tolerate, be able to do their job next, right? The amount of time between learning something and then doing that thing, if that goes for a long period of time, you forget everything. Now, we record our trainings, of course, right? So you can go back and do it, watch the recording again, but that rarely happens when somebody goes, they're just going to go in and try to figure out their job. So the closest they are to the training, the better. And coming off of a live instructor, there's usually a general amount of incitement because we've shown them this is how you favorite. This is your workspace. It's essentially totally for you. These are all the emails that get automated. You don't have to send anymore, right? All that drives excitement because, like you said, it's getting rid of those repetitive, mundane tasks. And then the further they get away, the more you have to rely on the recording. And then we also do what's called a quick reference card, which it's pretty funny. It's literally 2 pages or 3 pages of a PowerPoint deck. It sums up everything as much as possible, including terminology and just like little workflow snippets to help them along. And that serves as a great memory trigger once they get
Mm.
into doing their jobs. So that little 2 to 3 page, we do all this work, we make this training, we do this recording. The shortest thing we build are those PowerPoint slides, but they're the most used piece of curriculum that we have.
So let me just do a little synopsis here. What I understood you to say is that you go into a customer's instance and within their environment, generally speaking, because you're not just going into their instance, but you're also engaging with the actual people who are within the organization to understand how they're using their ServiceNow interest, or how they're using their ServiceNow instance, and how they can get the most from that investment. I then heard you say that you create these very strategic, just in time videos that can be very short, concise, and to the point. Those then can be stored in a knowledge base, right? And then you have a reference card so they can really quickly get to that information as they need it. Am I missing something here?
No, I mean just exactly right. Right, you can have the opposite end of the spectrum too. You can have an involved training where there's simulated exercises they can do in a dev or a test environment, or both. And the real value of those short, YouTube style videos or the quick reference cards is that you can be doing your job and need to know how to do the very next minute of your job, pull
Sure.
it up, watch a video for 2 to 3 minutes, check out this quick reference, and then, within 5 minutes, you can move on to the next step. So you get kind of the best of both worlds with
And
us.
by the way, folks, if you're watching this, you'll see at the bottom of my little frame that there is a QR code that if you click on that using your phone, you hold that up to the QR code, it'll take you to a landing page. This is for anyone who is in need of personalized training for your organization to increase adoption and to get the most from your ServiceNow investment. If you're actually watching this on your phone, you're thinking, oh, I'm watching this on my phone. How can I then scan it? No worries, I got you. You can also go to the description of this video. It's also the very first comment of the chat where you can go ahead and click that link, and we offer a complimentary training discovery workshop so we can figure out what your needs are and how we can best help you be off to the races with your ServiceNow implementation. So, Darby, I want to ask, and I know you're going to do a demonstration in a bit. I want to ask you, however, I think the most obvious question is ServiceNow, once led by Andy Ho, shout out to Andy for his incredible service at ServiceNow, has built an incredible learning platform called Now Learning. How does that compare to what you do?
So Now Learning is fantastic, right? And there are 3 of the 6 personas that we just recommend Now Learning training for, right? Whether that's a specific class or a career journey, which they've just came out with, which really describes how to do a job in ServiceNow. But they cover the process owners, or you might call them product owners or management. Those people need to know how ServiceNow works out of the box. They're usually participating in the implementation at GlideFast by designing requirements, right? They're writing stories with our team. They need to take training to understand how their given applications, incident, project, whatever it happens to be, work out of the box, so they're more knowledgeable about doing the implementation itself. And then, of course, you have your admins and your developers, and that's basically what Now Learning was built for. So you can go in there and figure out how to maintain an instance, how to maintain an application, how to do some configurations that are intended by ServiceNow. And then if you're a developer, maybe a little bit of scripting to go the extra mile. That developer role, though, usually is fulfilled by GlideFast. Kind of let us do the tough part, and we'll teach you the rest.
Right on, right on. Well, I want to get into it. So, can you give us a little bit of a demo of the type of work that you do?
Yeah, absolutely. One thing, and kind of the reason that I wanted to come on and hang out with Kali today, is the most ignored persona of the 6 is like the reporting analyst, or somebody who has to do some sort of reporting in ServiceNow. Everything else that I just talked about is all about getting data into ServiceNow, and it is
Sure.
rare that a person is taught to get data out. So I just wanted to show a little bit of what kind of a training we would do for these reporting analysts or BI folks, or whatever. It could be managers making their own reports, right? But a lot of people consume ServiceNow through reports, and not a lot of people are taught how to do them. So what we're looking at here is, with any training, right, you always want to impersonate the person or the role or the persona that you're training, right? You don't want to have an admin type of training, because very few people are actually have that admin role. So in
Sure.
this case, we have someone who's basically kind of like a reporting analyst, but has access to data. And we're going to use the classic incident application as we want to demonstrate today. So what we're looking at right here is actually something we train all the time. This is a workspace, right? This is a service operation workspace. This is where Bo would go to do his work or see his team's work. But let's say Bo has been tasked with dashboards and building out something for a report, right? The first thing that we would show is the out of the box dashboard, right? So we'd show them to come. How to navigate is huge, key essential thing for us. And then how to search for dashboards, for example, the incident overview dashboard, right? So you always want to show people what exists out of the box, because that's, if you can use out of the box, you're done, right? You just know how to do it. So this is an example of a dashboard where everything here you see is a report. On the right hand side is everything that controls this dashboard. So again, going through this and showing somebody their group, or showing somebody that you can do specific categories here, which control all these reports here. And then also that you can simply, hold down the command or control key, and you'll go right to data. That
Right.
simple part, a lot of people don't know. We just had a client who'd been in ServiceNow for 2 years and didn't have any idea how any of this worked, because they're always focused on the workflow and getting that into it. Right, you go right to now your classic ServiceNow view where you're looking at a bunch of incidents, right? So you're going from dashboard to report to the actual query against the list, which is pretty great. Then the ability to go in and, create your own dashboard, create your own reports, right? Which is from a different module called View Run, very classic, sort of, as long as I've been in ServiceNow, it's been here. You can
Yes.
right click on these things and open them, right? So you can have multiple tabs open, also something important to show people. And then from here, go find that report, right? Incidents open today, and be able to modify and copy that by going to all incidents open today. And this report is what backs up this dashboard. So again, you're just explaining basic structure to the report user. Coming into the incidents opened on today and seeing the underlying
Mm.
technology or the underlying query that exists for this, and then being able to modify it very simply. So first thing we teach is, right, you can't modify a report. That's an admin functionality, but you can insert and stay, create your own report, and now you can modify it. And let's say this is incidents opened on Mondays.
And doing it this way is far more efficient than going through the ServiceNow Administration Fundamentals course, isn't it?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
targeted to what maybe this person is only concerned with making reports on incidents. Maybe this person's only concerned with making reports on projects or what have you. They just need to know that table structure and go about their day. So you're talking about a 1 to 2 hour class that focuses on querying against the table. For example, here, very little used operator called trend. This trend allows you to create reports specifically for days of the week, right? Little known
Right.
fact, takes me 1 minute to show you, and now everybody knows it. And then you run it, you can see all of your incidents that have ever been opened on Mondays, right? Just with something that simple. Or coming
Mhm.
in and showing even something more complex, the related list conditions. Show me all of the incidents that have an alert task to them that are created on Monday, where that alert is a severity of critical, right? And just this capability and allowing people to explore from here, and we've been doing this for 4 minutes, is pretty great. And then running it. Luckily, we don't have any alerts that are critical created on Monday, so we don't have to do that.
What I
Then,
also like about what you're showing is that I mentioned that this is a lot more efficient than going through, a longer, the 12-hour course, or is it 8 hours, 10 hours, a lengthy course, and now learning. But you also are personalizing this, as you mentioned, for that particular customer's environment. So it's really targeted. So it's not like you kind of have to like translate it to see if it fits my particular ServiceNow instance if I'm a customer, right?
right, yeah, they could. Sometimes what we build in training, I'll try to use an example that they're actually trying to do. So therefore, we built something that they'll use, and then also can use the video or the training to build something else. So you really killed two birds with one stone, which is
Right.
really, really cool.
You mentioned that you might do a 1 to 2 hour course on reporting, but then you will then take that video, because I'm assuming that you're recording it, and then you'll chop it
Always.
up into smaller pieces to be more consumable pieces of content, training content for future
Absolutely.
reference.
Yeah, absolutely. Depending on the budget of the client. Sometimes we'll do just the 1 to 2 hours, right? Record it, but then also do professionally edited ones because, as I'm talking, you get the ums and the ahs and me hesitating or moving around. So we usually try to do it separately where you have a professionally edited video straight and to the point to do that way. But either way is fine.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you giving that snippet of what training will look like for a customer. And I just kind of want to just kind of do a little recap, because we talked about why training enablement. And so, number one, greater adoption in your organization, greater adoption of your ServiceNow implementation. And Darby, you also mentioned that you were working with a customer that had been with ServiceNow, I've been working with that instance, I'll say, for 2 years, but didn't know this particular aspect of reporting existed. So the training is not just for a brand new implementation, right?
No, no, it could be years from now. You could be in it for a long time. The client we were working with, they'd been using case management for a long period of time. And actually, I was building a report to show the activity of the students in the training that I was given. And through building that, they were like, wow, we had no idea that you could do any of this, right? And it gave just light bulbs went off for them. And then
Mm,
they ended up doing more work with us, and I trained them more on reporting because you can get a lot more technical with it. And then they've eventually, now they're like performing performance analytics experts, right? So it really opened up this whole new world of ServiceNow for them, where they weren't just held to what ServiceNow provided in dashboards and reporting.
sure. And then with ServiceNow having two major releases per year, it's also useful so that those companies, those organizations can unlock greater capabilities within the ServiceNow platform to even drive, number two, drive more business outcomes. I don't know if you want to comment on that at all.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the more you know about the data that's in ServiceNow and how it relates to each other, which is essentially the key for reporting, the easier it is to adapt to new things that come out, because it's all going to be what they say, records in a table, right? As long as you know what those records are and what table it is, you can explore functionality with ease and a lot more speed than just learning new, right? You come there, if you look at it from a data perspective or a reporting perspective, it's all just different tables and different records.
Sure. And then finally, faster time to value on your ServiceNow investment. We want to move it from what we call it, shelfware, to a real tool, to a real situation that is driving those business outcomes and making this something that really is useful to your business. Do you care to comment a bit about faster time to value?
Yeah, I mean, faster time to value from a training perspective is all about adoption. And you really want the people to adopt that are using this job. Oh, I can do my job better because I know how to do reporting in ServiceNow, or I know I can do my job better because I understand how this onboarding workflow works now. And I can actually do it quicker and kind of move on with about my life, which is a lot better than top down enforcement. And that's what really doesn't work, is when you don't have training, you're forcing people to do things they're uncomfortable with, and it's a manager saying you have to do this as part of your your KPI or whatever. But if people are just doing it and exploring and then getting individual task boards and really using ServiceNow to make work their own, it's a lot easier, and you have immediate time to value because it's exciting once you get in there and know how to use it.
You know, when you say that, it makes me think that strategic personalized training by GlideFast could be the answer to debooking, right?
Yeah, and it's the use of licenses, right? You don't want to have be paying for licenses that people aren't using, because that's the whole investment in service now. To exist in the cloud, that's what you want at the end of the day, is people using it because they want to.
Tell me a bit about the complimentary training discovery sessions. Can you explain a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, what we want to do is just meet with you all. We want to hear what your problems are. We want to hear where there's a lack of adoption. We want to hear what you don't understand either now, or what's been changed over time that you might not understand. Let us know which way you want to learn it, and then talk about it with you. So, and we're offering those for free to come and talk about what you need from training, or say, hey, I have no idea. We can let you know what we've done in the past that's helped other customers.
100%. And, at GlideFast, we believe that we provide the expertise, the commitment, and the consistency that ServiceNow customers deserve. And with that said, we want to make sure that you are indeed getting the most out of your investment. ServiceNow is quite an investment, but it can drive some incredible business outcomes. And ServiceNow is adopted by, I believe it's 70% of the Fortune 1000 companies. So it
Wow.
is perhaps a game changer for your organization. So it's important to put that time and investment into making sure that your team is fully adopting the platform. Listen, Alex Darby, it's been quite a pleasure to have you here on 100 Days of Service Now. I will see you at Knowledge, right?
Yes, you will. Is there any chance I could get that air horn one more time?
Yes, you can. Thank
Thanks
you,
for having me,
Alex. I'll
Tyler.
see you in the whirlwind.
Take care, everybody.
That was Alex Darby, everyone, Senior Vice President of Training at GlideFast Consulting. Listen, if you are interested in training enablements personalized to your unique environment, go ahead and scan this QR code that you see on the screen, or you can go to the description of this video and sign up for a complimentary training discovery workshop. All right? So, I will see you on the next episode of 100 Days of Service Now. Be kind and stay curious. Bye.